As part of the upcoming Middle East Peace Covenant, will the United States formally recognize Palestinian statehood at the United Nations? Michael Snyder reports. Will a peace covenant soon be announced that will permanently alter world history in a major way? For months, Israel and Saudi Arabia have been quietly negotiating a deal that would normalize relations between the two nations, but they are not the only parties involved. Israel and Saudi Arabia both want formal security agreements with the United States as part of any agreement. In other words, if either of those two nations get attacked, the U.S. military would be required to intervene. The Saudis also want to develop a nuclear power program, and they want U.S. assistance with that. But the biggest barrier to the deal was always going to be the Palestinians. The Saudis are insisting that any agreement must include major concessions from both the U.S. and the Israelis, and the Palestinians are publicly making it known that they will not accept any outcome that does not involve formal U.S. recognition of Palestinian statehood at the United Nations. At one time, such a demand would have killed negotiations, but apparently the Biden administration is very open to making such a move. So much could change during the course of negotiations, and there is still a long way to go. And if an agreement can be reached, it probably will not happen until the first half of 2024. But at this moment, it happens that something will actually happen. In fact, on Friday, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told the press that a basic framework for the agreement has been hammered out. All sides have hammered out, I think, a basic framework for what we might be able to drive at, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters. But as in any complex arrangement, as this will inevitably be, everybody's going to have to do something, and everybody's going to have to compromise on some things, Kirby said. I was absolutely floored when I first saw that. After all these years, the sort of Middle East peace agreement that we have been anticipating could actually come to fruition. But the Palestinians must be willing to accept the deal, and right now they are playing hardball. It's being reported that the Palestinians are demanding the transfer of territory in the West Bank from Israel and recognition of Palestinian statehood at the United Nations from the United States. Last month, a U.S. official, a PA official, and a senior Arab diplomat told the Times of Israel that Ramallah is seeking irreversible steps that will advance its bid for statehood in the context of the U.S.-brokered Saudi-Israeli normalization talks. Those officials said the PA proposals have included U.S. backing for recognition of Palestinian statehood at the United Nations, the U.S. reopening its consulate in Jerusalem that historically served Palestinians, the scrapping of congressional legislation characterizing the PLO as a terror organization, the transfer of West Bank territory from Israel to Palestinian control, and the demolition of illegal outposts in the West Bank. Will Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu be willing to give up the territory that the Palestinians are asking for? And will the Biden administration shock the world by formally recognizing a Palestinian state at the United Nations? If those two things actually happen, it will have enormous implications for all of us. A year ago, it seemed impossible that such a comprehensive agreement could happen before the next presidential election in the United States, but now leaders on all sides seem optimistic. For example, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman recently told Fox News that an agreement is getting close with each passing day. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS for short, said that his country was moving closer each day towards reaching a normalization deal with Israel, the first time he has publicly acknowledged the process. Every day we get closer to reaching an agreement, the 38-year-old heir to the Saudi throne told Fox News in an interview that aired Wednesday. It seems it's for the first time a real one, serious. We're going to see how it goes, he says. And during a speech to the UN General Assembly September 22nd, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu definitely sounded like a man that is ready to make a deal. In an address to the United Nations General Assembly on September 22nd, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel was at the cusp of a transformative peace agreement with Saudi Arabia. He said such a peace will go a long way to ending the Arab-Israeli conflict, said Netanyahu. It will encourage other Arab states to normalize their relations with Israel. It will enhance the prospects of peace with the Palestinians. It will encourage a broader reconciliation between Judaism and Islam, between Jerusalem and Mecca, between the descendants of Isaac and the descendants of Ishmael, who were brothers, we know, sons of Abraham. Now, of course, there are many in Netanyahu's coalition that would not welcome such an agreement, especially if it means giving up land in the West Bank. But would their minds change if the agreement also made it possible to start rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem? This has been the dream of Jewish religious leaders for decades, and so making their dream a reality may be enough to get them to agree to a deal that formally divides the West Bank. If the temple is to be rebuilt, the Jewish government will inevitably be heavily involved, and we know that government agencies were already involved in transporting 5 red heifers to Israel from the state of Texas. According to Jerusalem-focused nonprofit Ir Amim, the Israeli government authorities helped the Temple Mount activist group, the Temple Institute, the B'nai Israel, and an evangelical organization import 5 cows from the United States last year to be used for the red heifer sacrifice. The Ministry of Agriculture allegedly assisted in bypassing standard regulations in order to import the live cows from the U.S., which is prohibited. In a press release, B'nai Israel and the Temple Institute claimed they received permission to import the cows through the Ministry of Agriculture. The Ministry of Jerusalem Affairs and Heritage also assisted in the project. The ministry's Director General Netanel Isaac disclosed in a speech that the cows' welcome ceremony in September 2022 that the agency has been funding the development of the Mount of Olives area where Temple Mount activists plan to initiate the red heifer ritual sacrifice. So much is happening right now that the days ahead are likely to be filled with lots of twists and turns. The good news is that there will be no final agreement in 2023. If a deal can be reached, it will happen in 2024. So there's still time for all of us to make our opinions known to global leaders. Unfortunately, the truth is that they don't really care what any of us think. All sides seem pretty determined to make an agreement happen, and once it's signed, our world will never be the same again. This is by Michael Snyder. He says, about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I've written 6 other books available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, Commissions Earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I've also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so you won't miss any of my articles. I've published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, and I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is by Michael Snyder on End of the American Dream. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.